Hello, and welcome to Night Clerk Radio. This is episode 105, Constant Night and New Position. These are two new albums we're going to be reviewing that are both tagged as vaporwave, but are fairly different from one another. And these are very new albums, so I'm quite excited to talk about them. It's really exciting to see vaporwave blossom into so many new styles, forms. I don't know. I liked both albums quite a bit. I was very surprised. Yeah,
I think this was kind of an ideal episode for what I want to do out of these new music episodes, where one album is comfy and I know I'd like it. Like just the style and the genre and everything. I kind of know going in that at least stylistically I'm going to be into it. And then the other album being one that is a subset of vaporwave I'm still getting into, which is more like vapor breaks and stuff. So I don't know. I have like vapor break specific thoughts, but I'll save that for the Luxury Noise album segment.
Yeah, I'll just let you know. My album I just found looking at the Bandcamp newest albums list and was very pleasantly surprised by this. One thing I also found is like finding new artists too, because we've talked about one of the artists some, but like one of the artists, Alpha Chrome Yayo, is someone new to me, and he's doing very interesting work in a lot of different areas. So that's something to explore in future episodes. But yeah, I like this because both of these albums could also be tagged as different genres, like you said, breakcore, and the other one is
dungeon synth.
Yeah, dungeon synth and
cosmic-y, like weird hypnagogic dungeon synth.
Yeah. Dungeon synth and jazz fusion.
There you go.
But yet you listen to it and you're like, yeah, that's definitely vaporwave. But it's also like, So I'm just excited to dive into the album. So I have a lot of thoughts, but like, let's get to one of the albums first. That was a sample from track 3, Drifting 62 Miles Above Sea Level, Frozen Solid, from Constant Night by Alpha Chrome Yayo, which is a hell of an artist name and a very apt album title for this Twilight-themed vaporwave dungeon synth jazz fusion album. And comfy synth. Yeah, the tags on this are very good on the Bandcamp page.
Oh, very true. The rare, completely accurate tagging.
Yeah. And this is a album that is themed on the twilight hours, which is apparently mostly mid-tempo. It's not, it's not ambient, and it's not like the next album, which is very high energy, very, very daytime vibes for me. But Constant Night is, if I could summarize, it would be vaporwave in a dungeon synth vocabulary, because it has the same style, same kind of synths you would hear in a dungeon synth album, but played differently. And like, that sort of clean, like there's very little, or I can't, like no
harpsichord adjacent synth patches almost. Yeah.
I think those are very clean too. You don't get like much crackle or like lo-fi static. It's very pristine, but still warm too. It's got that kind of like, and it's also no plunderphonics as far as I can tell. It's all original compositions. So, which is really cool. And it has that sort of wistful feel, but still kind of like a bit of that vaporwave disassociative, pensive emotion, that is sort of core to what vaporwave is. I just found this album. It just looked intriguing. I was actually looking on the Dungeon Synth page for newest releases, And the album art of this is like, this purple, very like a house kind of pencil drawn, like, and it stands out on the Dungeon Synth page quite a bit. There's not a fucking castle or medieval forest or like orc or dinosaur or anything like that.
If you don't look at the words, it looks like a sociology textbook more than like a D&D splat book. That's how it stands out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I was like, well, what's this? And so I click on it and look at the tags. I'm like, well, I have to listen to this. And after I listened to like 2 or 3 tracks, like, this is it. I didn't have to listen to the whole album. And I was like, yeah, this is, I need to review this. So yeah, no, I was a very pleasant surprise on the Dungeon Synth page, just through looking on the Bandcamp news releases. So yeah, what are your overall thoughts, Brooke?
Yeah, I really like this album a lot. I think for me, the vaporwave connection comes from evoking feelings of like other media, or at least other genres of media. So the 2 main feelings I got out of most of this were, first and foremost, suspenseful horror soundtrack, not like a slasher flick or something, but more like giallo or like mysterious, especially that first track.
Yes.
Is very, very much feels like it'd be like on a Fulci film or something. Like I said, that like harpsichord, like piano adjacent kind of synth, where it's like very like sharp attack keys, very clean, much more in the high register. So tracks like that felt very, very horror to me. And like other ones were like track 3, when some of the more intense like key melodies came in.
Oh yeah,
those really felt more like really good suspenseful horror. And then the other one is like a lot of feeling of like video game music.
Yeah,
which is I think another area they work in. You sort of answered my question by saying that this artist was new to you, but I was wondering if they were someone famous that I didn't know of, because the headshot on Bandcamp looks very familiar. They talk about making music for games and film in their bio. And so
looking at their Twitter page, the first thing is he did the music for Promise Mascot Agency, which is a game about to come out about running a mascot agency in a rural Japanese town. So you may have seen that trailer. I don't know what else.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I maybe just thinking of somebody else. Doesn't matter. The album itself is very good. Doesn't matter whether or not it's like somebody else. But just I thought a lot of really nice video game roots, particularly track 4, Moonlight Bind Us, which that sort of like mysterious felt like very like SNES era, like RPG soundtrack. And then 10 was kind of a mix of the mysterious horror to me. And then also some like video game soundtrack roots.
Yeah, kind of like a NES, like a MIDI, chip tune kind of thing at the especially like at 1 minute in.
All that stuff really works, but my favorite tracks are the more like spacey, cosmic ones that are like more moody and dissonant. So like tracks 2, 6, and 8, I think were like the big ones to me.
Yeah, I specifically mentioned spacey and cosmic in those tracks.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very good. One thing that kind of surprised me too is how much I was reminded of other artists in terms of like not ripping them off, but like working in that space. So like you mentioned, like 1970s like European horror or mystery films for track 1, but like track 2 is very clean, very pristine, and like another one of these cosmic. It reminded me of Fornax Void, actually, especially like Fornax's last album, the 4-hour cyberspace database one. But I also was reminded of Boards of Canada, and there's like one of the like track 8 reminded me of Home, like a very chill wave kind of sort of feeling, but like that kind of sense of like warm analog synth, and
like good melody writing over it and everything.
Yeah. Track 7 was almost like synthwave. It's so
track 7 really stood out to me because it's the only track that, not only, that's a dangerous thing to say because I may be forgetting little things, but the track to me where I really noticed drums, whereas there's not really much percussion on the other tracks, whereas this one has these big reverby snare hits, and like those just really catch your attention after like 6 tracks of nothing like that. Those tracks were like, just do something a little different after a while, like get you in a zone, and then just do little differences without messing up the whole tone of the album are some of my favorites. Another example of that is track 5, which was like much darker, but also had like either guitar or like a guitar emulating synth
Yeah, kind of buzzy. Yeah.
Yeah, and like little like solos are like increasingly kind of more guitar components coming through and like more lead work towards the end. So like those two also stood out just because you do something a little different and you don't, but do it without really messing up the feel of the album.
Yeah. One track we haven't talked about yet really much is track 9, which I quite enjoyed. Wherever Become Your Own Master. So why don't we play a sample of that? And yeah, I really like the guitar and like this horn-like synth coming in and the bass guitar coming in. Like there's like a xylophone and a chimes on this track. It's really interesting. But like all of these instruments, yeah, really give this like gentle and like reassuring kind of feel to the entire album. It is like, yeah, you're just kind of vibing at night and you're not going to sleep yet. But you're home and you're safe and it's great. Yeah, it's a little delight of an album. And I'm really interested to go through this. I'm going to go through Alpha Chrome's discography now and see what else, because they have quite a few other albums up.
Yeah, that's the other reason I thought if they were somebody I should know.
Yeah, they've probably been in a mix or two that we've listened to.
Could be. Well, I know them now, and that's what counts. So
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I missed out on all your previous, no doubt, excellent music as well.
Yeah,
for listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's just it's a very nice album, sort of a counterpoint for like late night music that's not just like layered ambient soundscapes, which is, you know, I don't put on drums and bass at 10 o'clock at night, but like I'd probably put this on at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. This would like crush on a Hearts of Space episode or something.
Yeah.
Some of those more cosmic ones, that's where they should where they should end up.
Yeah, Alpha Chrome, if you haven't submitted to Hearts of Space, what are you doing? This is perfect for that.
Yeah, you're perfect for that. Just that like contemporary vaporwave synth, super chill album. Yeah. Really, really liked it. This was my, as I mentioned in the intro, this was obviously the comfort album for me because it's something where dungeon synth, jazz fusion, vaporwave, those are all things I know I like. And if you do them well, I know I like your album. So it's not really like pushing my comfort zone for me. So yeah, just that nice little blanket of synth.
Oh, one last thing I should mention is there are liner notes for this album as a text file, and they're actually pretty detailed. He talks about exactly what he was thinking when he came up with this, and he mentioned some of his musical influences. The music itself takes inspiration from tons of people and places, including the environmental splendor of Hiroshi Yoshimura, reverb-drenched dream pop of the Kostu Twins, and the sumptuous mystique of 1970s Columbo scores.
Nice. Yeah, those Columbos. Yeah. They're good.
Yeah, we both watched quite a few episodes of Columbo now, and it's I could totally see that. Yeah, I'm glad I nailed the 1970s connection. Yeah. So yeah, it's worth reading. And I kind of wish more albums would have liner notes like that. Like, here's what's the deal with this album.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's in the paid download, right?
Yes.
So hey, you want those liner notes? Gotta support your artists.
Wait for the next Bandcamp Friday. Well, the next Bandcamp Friday is not for a couple months. They're skipping the summer for some reason, but whatever. Support your artist. Give them some money.
Support your local tune slinger.
Yeah, Tune Slinger. Ooh, if you're thinking of becoming a musical artist, that's a good name. You can just take that, Tune Slinger.
It's all yours. And that was a bit from track 3, New Position, off our second album, New Position, by Vapor Breaks master, an all-around good person, Luxury Noise, aka Paul Nunn. This is also a fairly recent album, as is the whole point of this episode. It says released May 3rd. Same day as your album, actually.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they're both May 3rd babies. It was released on
Which
Pacific
we did not
Plaza.
plan. We did not plan.
No, we just go off on our own and just drop links and like, here, you have to listen to this now because it's what I picked. But this was released on Pacific Plaza, came on a lovely little transparent cassette, which I got a copy of. And a very funny story is whenever I order something from Pacific Plaza, oops, sorry, you can hear me futzing on my desk. It always leaves us a nice little note on the piece of cardboard that protects the tape. Mm-hmm. And he said, this album is a very good review candidate. Joke's on you. I had already decided to review it for this episode before I even ordered it.
Damn.
As soon as I know. But
fucking
he knows what we're into. He knows what we're into.
Nice.
So great work out there at Pacific Plaza. Thank you so much. Yeah, because Luxury Noise, I was waiting to do their next album because they've been on a few compilations we've talked about, and I really, really liked Forgive Yourself, but sort of got it after we could do like a new music episode on it. Mm-hmm. So I tried this out, and man, I really like this album. This album is obscenely good. I've been trying to think about like why this type of music has been really growing on me. Mm-hmm. I think specifically the Vapor Break side of it, but even more beat driven, like less hypnagogic vaporwave, like future funk and vapor trap and the more high energy or less hypnagogic, perhaps.
Less slush. Yeah.
Less slush, less signal wave, which I still really like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like my adult mood is improving or what, but
it's fine to change.
Really liked.
It's just your taste change.
Just going through a mood swings. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, just really, really. So, and I think also Luxury Noise's specific blend really works for me because the part I really like about it, first and foremost, is drums. Because I play drums, it's the thing I listen to. And that sort of style of drumming has always been interesting to me, even outside of the genre. I think I mentioned him before, but there's a drummer, Jojo Mayer, who in like the mid-2000s basically started doing live D&B. Pretty much. Ooh. Became like his style of doing like breaks and D&B and kind of jungle beats and stuff, but on a live kit and like really, really, like virtuoso driven. So there's like, I'll put some tracks or at least one track maybe in the show notes if people want to check out what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. And then I think, some of the calmer like video game vaporwave influences that come into how Luxury Noise incorporates that drumming style with these other components is what also makes it work for me. Like, I don't think I'm magically going to go put on like, I'm open to recommendations, of course, but put on like a random 1997 D&B album and be as into it.
But that's fair. They're still making new D&B right now. So,
I keep thinking Dave and Buster's.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. You mentioned that like when you're talking about like, I don't listen to the same music as I used to. One of the things this album specifically reminded me of, that like track 6 really reminded me of Square Pusher. Because it has that, that break, that Square Pusher break. At least I associate with Square Pusher, that sound that I've heard in a million fucking tracks. I love Square Pusher, but I stopped listening to Square Pusher, and it wasn't because I stopped hating him. Just like I moved on to new things to try out, and I'll probably go back and re-listen to some classic Square Pusher. But like, you just want to listen to new stuff. You just want to like see what else is out there, or listen to what else is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like this album is a very like late 90s, early 2000s like breakbeat like era of EDM music and IDM music, whatever you want to call it. And names, they're genre names, they're weird. And this is for me it was a very effervescent album. It's very upbeat, it's very bright, it's very joyful, like it's a really great, daytime album, like something to really get you energized, like for working out or just being on the go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked it. Yeah. It's also, you're right. Very interesting breaks and like really great drumming.
Yeah. Just really good production and mixing and so many little components all around. The star of the album for me throughout all of the tracks is the saxophone.
Oh yeah.
Like the saxophone is so good. So there's that little sax gesture in the sample I played from track 3, but it shows up in other tracks. And there's that like track 9, The Last Wind We Felt, really comes out to me. And it made me really wish that somebody would do like a pure vapor jazz album or project. And I know there's some like heavy sampling of jazz. I know a lot of jazz sampling shows up in vaporwave. So like, I think like a couple days before we're recording this, David Sanborn died. A lot of his songs ended up in vaporwave.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a saxophonist. So it's that vaporwave element that kind of comes in, and just this constant energy of the drums against so many other elements. So like track 4, The Slip, is much more relaxed compared to like track 6, PS0, which you mentioned, which is weird because like the drums have so much energy, but then the vocal samples are more like pulsing, and there's like little chill synth melodies, and you slow down the attack on your synths so they're not so like frantic and punchy. Just, yeah, it really sits well. And it really works well as an album too. Sorry, as a cassette, rather, like the track division works well. So like track 6 that we've mentioned a few times, that's the first track of the second side. So like it gets you back into it after you had to stop for a second and like flip your cassette over.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you listen to this on cassette?
Yeah. So I have the cassette, which I listen to, but I also I was thinking about it. I looked, I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense as the break point between the two sides.
Okay. Yeah.
Of track 5, Happy Fog, which has like some like nature sounds, but then these pulsing, glitchy synths. It's a little more down tempo feeling, again, with just awesome horn work and saxophone. A lot of really cool vocal sampling throughout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both using the lyrics and also just chopping it up and turning it into an instrument, which I've talked about that I like.
Yeah, like that stuttering effect that they do in several tracks is really cool. Really keeps up the energy. Yeah, I like how like this has a very restrained sense of instrumentation. Like there's the drums, the sax, the strings and vocals that are used in this way, this chopped up. But like that, there's not much else. Like there's a couple synth pads underneath, kind of add a little layering. But like I like that it's got a very distinct sound. Like it's not just throwing in random instruments for the sake of a cheap effect. It knows what it wants to be about.
Yeah, it's funny because I listened to you say that, and I'm sure that if he's listening, he's probably thinking like Vietnam Dog, like thinking about some huge DAW session, like dozens of tracks of like everything cut up and neatly organized. But yeah, there is like a uniformity to it that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying in that there's not a gimmick of like this track has a xylophone and this track has there's not like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a very coherent experience.
Yeah, coherent. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I think also that just comes from stylistically, like you can be very, very precise and consistent and say of how you generate like your drum samples. So like the fact that the drums in every track sound so good and so crisp, have like little changes in them, but largely feel consistent, stuff like that, instead of being all over the place. Yeah, I agree with that. I think probably track 8, Lapped.
Oh yeah.
Had probably my favorite drum tones. The drums sounded great. In particular, though, I think that's the one that I felt had the most like slower attack cymbal work, like splashes and crashes instead of just all hats. And yeah, some of those crashes towards the end, like just that mixing and that timbre that just really, really worked well in that song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just that sort of those little production.
Yeah, that would have worked perfectly like on a Jet Set Radio soundtrack. Like that would have been it definitely nails that sound. It's a really fun album.
Yeah. The video game reference is interesting because I was thinking that is like the most consistent touchstone between our two albums is like that little overlap of video game interest or stuff that is like slightly video game adjacent. So probably the strongest example of that is, let me play a bit, mix up my sample plan here a little bit because my second sample was going to be that track 6, but we mentioned it a long time ago. So I'm not going to go back and sample it now. But I'm going to sample a track that I thought sounded very strongly of video game music to me. Just track 2, New Light. This is one of those tracks that just immediately, when I talk about music, sounding like other media to me, I'm not necessarily directly saying like, oh, it sounds like such and such soundtrack. To me, it's that the mental image that pops into my head immediately is some other piece of media. So I think when you have really great drums, like every track, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have this long sustained synth, there's lots of space. It's usually like maybe 2 chords, kind of like just cyclically between 2 chords. That really makes me think of racing games. Specifically like main menu music, right? So like you have like your title over it, but no one's hit start yet. So it has to do something in the background. So you just like, your car is just kind of driving around the track and like a camera is following you.
Yeah. You can't just,
and it's like kind of like pseudo slow motion, but still makes it feel like you're going to go fast in this game, I promise. But right now we're just chilling because we're at the main menu. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that is the immediate image that popped in my head was following a car around a track in like Gran Turismo or something.
It's funny you mentioned that because I've seen multiple like video game music mixes on YouTube that are all like video game jazz, video game, great. And they're like 2/3 like racing track titles and like main menu theme, pause menu theme, that kind of thing. So like, yeah, that is exactly it. It nails it. It really is interesting how video game music, like for not the main themes, but like these little important bits of a game, you need some kind of music for it, like how the composer interpreted that assignment.
And it has to be stuff that you don't know how long it's going to play, which we've talked about before on video game episodes. So that's why like these little cyclical chord motions tend to be so popular because you get like lost in them. They don't like push you through your standard set of like leading into resolution and whatnot. They just kind of work their way around. Yeah. Fucking rules.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. And I would still categorize it as vaporwave because again, like we're like waxing nostalgic about older video games. It's nostalgic. It's haunted by the past of video games. Yeah,
absolutely. But also, all these classic 90s D&B ideas. It's just pulling from somewhere other than pop and R&B of the time. It's just a different genre to think about and reminisce about. I think the best vaporwave, it does that, but still sounds modern. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but it still has like its own really fresh production, but still paying homage or like pulling from these old ideas. Like that's like really what like fusion and progression of music is to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he just does it really, really well.
Yeah. No.
It's a beautiful cassette release. So.
Yeah. It's very slick. Tempted to get the cassette myself.
I don't know. You have to see if they still have them. It's a limited run.
Oh no.
I'll sell you mine on Discogs for $400.
Fine, dude. Thank you so much for listening. Our next episode, it's almost summer, but it's time for some spring cleaning. Specifically, our Discord needs some cleaning. So we're going to be going through the recommendations of patrons on our Discord for some of the albums they have listed in the last couple months. There have been a lot of really sick ass albums in the various categories. So be sure to join us for that. And of course, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/nightclerkradio. We give a bonus episode every month. We have some additional content and a great Discord community where there's some interesting discussions and really cool links being dropped every day. So it's a nice little hangout. It's nice and comfy. So you can listen to Constant Night while you're hanging out on our Discord.
That's right. Yeah. Cozy music, cozy synth, cozy Discord.
Yeah. And of course, we are on the social medias. We're on Blue Sky now and Twitter and Facebook, and you can find us there. We're at nightclerkradio.com. We'll have links to all that. And there's a Facebook page that I update with new episode links. And don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you use to listen to podcasts. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your frenemies. And, Rivals to podcast fans is a great character arc. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.